Hey everybody, Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How you doing? Well, I did get a request from one of my subscribers about jig trailers and talking about pork. And I've done a few videos on pork. You know, I like to use it as a jig trailer. It's something back in the day when I, first got into bass fishing in the late 90s, early 2000s. Pork was readily available. Strike King had pork. Super Pork was out there. Uncle Josh, and it was a very popular jig trailer. And then it kind of faded out. Super Pork went out of business. Strike King stopped selling any pork products at all. Uncle Josh went away for a while, and I guess the word then was that these companies had a hard time getting the pork they needed to make the pork trailers, but they've come back. Now, I have not bought any of the new pork trailers in a long time because I've got a lifetime supply of Super Pork and Uncle Josh and everything that I bought over the years. But you can get, like, Uncle Josh is out there. There's another company. I always forget the name. I think it's Papa Ease. It's on, he has a website, and he makes pork products you can use. But they're out there again, which is really cool because they are very, very effective. I love throwing pork as a jig trailer, especially when the water's cold, spring and fall especially, and I will use it in the summer too. And we've talked a lot about plastic trailers lately, and just mentioning pork when you guys asked me to do a video on pork. And even if you guys search my page, I've done pork videos before, but whenever anybody wants to talk about jig fishing and pork as a trailer, I'm game to do another video on it. So what is a pork trailer? Here's like an Uncle Josh. That's a little crawdad. I just pulled some. I've got a whole thing of pork. Here's their kicker frog. Now, which ones they're making nowadays, I'd have to look up for you. There's the crawdad again. Here's the Uncle Josh Phantom Craw. Let's see. Here's the old. You guys can remember that. You old school guys remember this. The old Strike King Porco. You remember that? That wasn't a pork trailer really. That was just it was almost like like a worm, a plastic worm that people would just put on a hook and throw it out. And I remember Bill Dance on his show catching bass, huge bass, doing it. Here's the old Bullhog Frog from Strike King. You guys remember that back in the day? They were great too. But I always loved Super Pork. And Super Pork was a company out in California, in Denair, California, back in the day. Great product. The tackle shops by me used to sell it. My buddy and I, back in the day, used to order a case every year of a certain color. It was like a blue we'd get. And, I had a bunch, and then all of a sudden I couldn't find them. And, when you found one, there might be a few laying around at some of the tackle shops, and you grab them here and there, but they were out of business. I think I've told this story on my channel before. One time I was searching online for Super Pork, and I found some place that had a bunch of them. I bought a bunch from them. They sold out very quickly. Once word got out, they had some guys were snatching it up as fast as they could. And that gave me a pretty good supply. And then I was just searching one day and saw, I think it was in Texas. It was like a marina tackle shop of some name that had a post on one of the bass fishing forums back in the day, and they were talking about Super Pork. And I just reached out to them just on a whim. I sent them an email and said, "Hey, I saw this post from a couple years ago about Super Pork. If you have any laying around, I'd be interested in buying it." And I think they were very happy to hear from me because I think they wanted to just get rid of it. And so, we kind of talked back and forth, and, for a couple $100, I came home from work one day and had 4 huge boxes of Super Pork that will last me a lifetime. So I would say I probably have more Super Pork than anybody in the country. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. There might be somebody out there who's got more, but I've got a lot. I've got hundreds of jars of Super Pork in different colors and different shapes, and I love it. It's very effective. It works, and I'm a true believer that pork is the best jig trailer you can use. Now, I use, as we've seen in the other videos, I use plastic trailers very effectively. They work great. What's nice about the plastic trailers is You can fish them all day, they don't dry out, and that was the negative with pork. If you're a jig fisherman and you're throwing the jig all day, no problem. But if you put the jig down and let it sit out in the sun, the pork will dry out. So we used to always just leave our jig hanging over the side of the boat so that the jig was laying in the water, so the pork didn't dry out. That was the negative about pork, that it would dry out. Another negative was that it was hard, especially like the Strike Kings and the Uncle Joshes. They had like that, the top side of it was like a hard, I don't know what it was, I guess a hard piece of the pork, so that when you put the hook through, it kind of popped through. It was a real pain in the neck to get it back off your hook. You almost ruined it sometimes getting it off. They made all these little tools that kind of made it better. The super pork was different. The super pork was, what was nice is you could get it back off the hook. The softness of the super pork was what made it better. It would come back off very easily. And with the super pork, if you threw it a lot during the day, the hole that you made through it with the hook, that would get big, and sometimes the pork would fall off, so you'd have to make a new hole. These are the things you dealt with. With plastic, you just put it on and you don't worry about it. So there's an ease of using the plastic instead of the pork, but the pork is really, really effective, especially when the water is cold. And it just has such a natural action when it's swimming, especially when you're swimming a jig. The pork looks just so natural in the water. It's really, really, I think the best trailer you can use. But you can use, if you like using plastic trailers, that's great too. But if you have not tried pork, you've heard about it, it's really an old school, technique. I don't think a lot of guys do it anymore. If you haven't tried it, especially when the water's colder, and the different sizes I'll show you come in handy at different times, you're really shortchanging yourself. Give it a try. Grab yourself just a couple jars of one of the ones that are available and try it, and let me know how you like it, because it really can be effective. Now, if you're going to go out and throw it, pork as a trailer, I'll just kind of show you. Let me just let's see, I got some different ones here. I want just a regular frog trailer here. Okay, here we go. Now, obviously when you get pork, it's going to be in water to keep them from drying out. This is an old super pork. This is just an avocado color. And the frog size for the frog, it's kind of a general size. I think that everybody kind of uses that 3x1, 3 inches long, 1 inch wide. Here's what it looks like if you've never seen it before. And I'm going to dry it off first so it's not dripping all over the place. Now, here is an avocado color super pork. So it's just it's just imagine the plastic ones. It's that same shape. You get the thicker body and then the legs. Now, when these are in the water, being that it's pork, they just move so naturally, and I can just feel the salt in these as I have them in my hand. But this is it. This is just your traditional pork frog trailer, 3x1 inch, and they just work great. They just work great. I'm going to leave that one out because I'll do a little demonstration here on how I put them on. Of course, my hands are soaked already. Need a paper towel. Now, I took out a few of my jigs. This is a 1/2 ounce queen tackle jig, tungsten, and I believe that's the blue crawl color, which I do very well on. I added some rattles, so there's the rattle skirt. There's the rattles I put on. I've added those to it. I always like rattles on my jig. Now, if I'm going to use pork, I don't want to just put it on the hook, because if I put that just on the hook without anything here, it's going to flop around. It's not going to stay like where I want it, out like this. It's going to move to here. It's going to get bent around the hook. What you always want to do if you're going to use pork is and I have a bag here. This is just old worms that are torn up, and I just chop up the pieces that are still good, and I use them on my jigs to keep the pork in place. So the first thing you do is add your soft plastic, and you can use any kind you want. I use power worms a lot because I figure, hey, what the heck, maybe if it gives a little power bait, smell to it. A max scent is good. Something that has some scent to it. I don't think that's a bad thing. But any kind of worm you like, especially if it's and color-wise, you can use whatever you want. I just usually grab one out of there that's not all torn up, and then just thread that through your on the hook. And usually after that's like that little thing. That's like the bait keeper on there, but that's kind of covered up with the rattle strap. So if I just push that down on it, it'll usually catch it enough. So now I've covered that part of the shank of the hook. So now I don't have to worry about my bait or my trailer flopping down there. Then I'm just going to go right through the center of the bait, flat side down, or the fat side down, I should say. So I'm going in from this fat side here. And I'm going to just go right through kind of like the middle of it and pop it through. See, now that's as far as that'll go. It won't slide all the way down there. So this is going to ride right here where I want it. So when I'm flipping and pitching it, that's kind of moving along. It's not going to get all tangled up in there. And that's pretty much it. That's the pork frog look that you want, with those, you know, really lifelike, you know, tail moving through there. I say tails, it's like, you know, kicker legs, whatever you want to call them. And what's nice about the super pork is it pops right back through. I don't know about the new Uncle Josh's. They may be easier to get off the hook. I don't know. But if you are going to use pork, I suggest some kind of a soft plastic on there. Just you can call it a keeper. You can call it I don't know what you want to call it, but just kind of to make it so that that pork stays right where you want it, right there. Okay. And that's it. That's it. And you can match those up. Like I like these avocado ones. They have like a greenish, yellowish, whitish to them. They really show up well in the water. And I'm showing you the super pork, even though they don't, you can't get super pork anymore, as far as I know. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there that still has a few laying around they want to sell. But if you buy like an Uncle Josh, let's see. Here's a kicker frog from Uncle Josh. Now I don't know what they're new. This is one of probably their older ones, so they may not look quite the same. But here's what their kicker frog looks like. It's a little smaller. But, you know, if you want a little smaller trailer, that might work for you. I like that frog size. Like, if I look at we just look at the Papa E's quick. He has his sizes as medium is 3/4 of an inches by 2. So his large is 1 inch by 3 inches. So his large would be what I just showed you in that super pork. Now, super pork also had a senior size, which was a bigger size. This is in the purple. You can just see how gooey these get over the years. If I pull out a piece of pork that hasn't been used in a few years, they're just so gooey. You get like, yeah. Believe me, it's worth it. But that's the senior size. You can see that's a little bigger. They used to have the junior size. So, you know, I have to see what's out there. I'll put links to what I can. Here's the junior size. You're like, well, look at that old piece of... When they're in the container there, they get a little mushed up. But once they're in the water for a while, they just start to absorb the water. They flow nicely. These little guys here on a hair jig, when the water is cold, are killer. Are killer. These old, you know, super pork junior size. I mean, I know you're looking at them now and saying, oh, Mark, that's garbage. That's not going to work. But these legs here, once they get in the water and they're in there for a little while and they start to absorb water, they just flow. They just go right back to their normal softness, and they'll start kicking fine. So don't think that your pork, just because, I mean, my hands are filthy. Don't think that because it's like in the container for a while, it's no good. Once they get out of there, because I've got, you know, this is probably 3 different jars that are all, because it says 22 of them. So I've got 22 jammed in here of the junior size. There's another one like senior size. That's the big size. The old, I'll show you just for reminiscing purposes, if I can even get these open. I haven't opened these in years. Oh, you know what? That's amazingly, it's still got a seal on it. I won't even bother opening it up. But you guys remember the old porco looks like? It was like just a long piece of pork that guys would throw on like a hook. Kind of, it's like something almost now you could drop shot probably. An old Strike King bowhog frog. I caught tons of fish on that back in the day. But pork is something that is just, it's so different. Fish really hold on to it. They don't feel like they're biting into something that's fake. You know, they feel like they're biting into something real. They really hold on to it. And I'll tell you, it's terrific, a terrific option when that water is colder. And I say that, and I've mentioned this before, is that I'll use it in the summer too. I don't just use it. I mean, I only use it more. I only use the soft plastics more in the summer, just because it's easier. I don't have to worry about them drying out. But you know, if I'm going to go out on a lake that I know is a good jig lake, I'll always have it. I always have all year from when I start fishing in, let's say, March until November. I always have a couple of containers of pork in the boat, no matter where I'm going, just in case. I want to see if that's going to make the difference, because it works. It works. Super Pork also made on. So these are probably all gooey too. I love when they have that old. I mean, these are really gooey. I don't even know if I want to take. I don't even know if I want to take that out. I mean, they are just, you know, something that's been in a jar, pork that's been in a jar, let's say for 25 years. What do you think it's going to look like? I mean, that is just gross. But they clean up. A lot of times when they get like this, just from the pork fat in there, when I'm using like a new jar that I've never used, if it's amazing to say, but I've got so many of them. That's their old crawl trailer. That worked pretty good too, because it had bigger flappers on it. But you can see all the pork fat just kind of, once you get it out in the water, they clean right up. They start to absorb the water. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. These things have lasted, as I said, over 20 years I've had these. And who knows when that was produced for the first time. Probably the late 90s for you. But here it is, 2025, and they're still good. When I get a new, every now and then I'll go through all of them and see if some of this, maybe if there's like a little air getting in, they may dry out a little. Add some water. A couple days later, they're fine. But that's it, guys. So really, you can get the, I'll even take a look here quick for you. The Papa E's, I'll put a link to it. I've never used them. I think Rainey Blackett was talking about them once. But you can get an Uncle Josh on Tackle Warehouse. They have the Big Daddy pork frog, the Jumbo pork frog, the Uncle Josh pork frog, which I assume is the 3x1 size. I will check for you. It looks like they've got black, blue, crawdad brown, and white. Really, if you've got those 4 colors or 5 colors, you don't really need a ton more. I mean, I have a ton of different colors only because I've, bought pork for so many years. And that size is 2.4 inches by 3, so it's close to that. It's a little smaller, but that's the Uncle Josh ones on Tackle Warehouse. Let me check on Land Big Fish, because they are having a sale. I'm pretty sure that they have Uncle Josh. Now, if you guys are old school like me and still have some laying around and haven't used it in a while, definitely give it a try. I mean, to me, it's a classic bait. It'll always work. If you've had those old, these old canisters, these are even probably newer ones, sitting around and you haven't used them, pull them out, give them a try. Yeah, they have the number 11 original Uncle Josh pork frogs on Land Big Fish, and they have the 5 colors: the black, blue, crawdad brown, and white. 2.5 by 1 inch. I believe they're 3 per jar, so they're expensive nowadays. Now, right now, Land Big Fish, you get 20% off them, so if you want to try them. But that crawdad brown looks great. The blue looks great. The black blue. I mean, I like the white one. That is a pork color I don't have a lot left of, is the white. And I will tell you guys, if you throw a white jig with white pork and swim it by docks and pontoon boats and laydowns, you will have a good time. If you have not tried that, try it. You don't need a swim jig. You can have a regular casting, pitching, and flipping jig, but just swim it back. You don't have, when you get to docks, swim it along the side with that white pork, because that white pork just undulates in the water so nicely. Fish just come out and absolutely hammer it. Absolutely hammer it. But white is one I don't have a lot of, so if I would actually, run out, I would buy some of the Uncle Josh white original pork frogs. So you can get them. Like I said, Land Big Fish got them for sale right now, 20% off. They're running a sale, so they're $11. So save you money. They also have the Jumbo Frog, which looks like the same colors except for the green spot. That one is, what's the size of that one? Oh, that's a 3.25-inch one, so that's a bigger one, the Jumbo, which I like too. And that's the same colors, except they also have a green spot color, so they are available. So guys, you know, if whatever jig you like, this happens to be a queen tackle tungsten jig. If you're going to use pork, add that soft plastic little keeper there, or addition to your hook, so that the pork does not go past that. It'll stay in the right up position all the time for you. And try it. Give it a try. It's very, very effective. And I don't care if it's 90 degrees out. If you're going jig fishing and you know it's a lake you're going to go to, flip a jig. There's a lot of docks. There's a lot of pontoon boats on those docks. There's a lot of floating docks. There's a lot of good structure to swim a jig by. If you're out there, get a couple jars of pork and just give it a try. Give it a try and see how you like it. I can't say the new jars how easy it is to get the pork back off. I know back in the day, I used to always have a little, I always have a little knife on the boat. So sometimes I would have to cut a little spot on where I had put it on just to make the hole bigger, and then it would come off. If you have to do that, you have to do it. But trust me, it's worth it. And just get confidence in it, and you will see, especially once that water starts to get cold, or the fish have seen every plastic trailer known to man. When that pork is on there, it just makes the jig look totally different. It makes it look so much more alive and more realistic. You'd be shocked at how great it is. And you can get the smaller ones. Like I said, I like this old junior size on hair jigs. I use it for that. It's just a great trailer option. It's not as readily available these days as it used to be back in the day. And then it kind of fell out of favor because companies couldn't get the pork anymore. And I think people just started using soft plastic trailers more because they're just easier. They were just easier. You don't have to worry about them drying out. But if you're going to go out there and fish in the summer and throw a bunch of different baits, but you want to try pork on the jig, don't worry about it. Just whenever you sit your jig down, just hang it over the side of the boat. Just let that bottom, let it just kind of sit there so that it lays in the water, and it won't dry out at all. It'll be fine. It'll be ready to go every time you're ready to pitch it again into some good cover. But that's it, guys. Papa E's, I'll give you a link to them. I've never tried those, so if any of you guys have, let us know here, in the comments if you like them, how they work. And Uncle Josh is available. If I don't know of any other kinds. If you guys do, let me know. But it's nice to see that they're out there, and they're a little pricey, but it's really not something that you lose unless you lose the jig. If your jig gets stuck in a rock and it breaks off, you lose them. But if you have if you've got a couple of jars of pork with 5 or 6, 7 pieces of pork in them, they'll last you a pretty long time. They're pretty durable. The only way I really lose them is if the fish just tear them apart and rip the legs off, and I want a full one, or the hole gets so big on it just from putting it in different spots on the hook that I change it out, or if you lose the jig. But they're pretty durable, so they do last a long time. They'll last longer than your soft plastic trailers that get torn up all the time. But just keep that bait dangling off the boat, and it won't dry out on you. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised if you could go through an area and throw a plastic trailer and go, there's nothing here, and then come back later with that pork on and swim that jig through there. You'd be surprised the difference that you might have. But that's it, guys. I really think it's a kind of a forgotten art to use pork as a trailer, but it is very effective. I totally believe in it. And what's nice about it is I can spray that with whatever scent I'm using, and that just sucks that scent in. We used to have that juice jug. I don't know if I still got it. Is this it right here? Oh, I always have to show this when I talk about pork. For any guys who fished with me back in the day, they remember this stinky ass thing. This thing is awesome. I'm sure that they're probably, if you type in juice jug, if I find a link to it, I'll put it in the description. This thing used to be on my boat, and I used to take every different type of scent I got and make this was like, Dr. Frankenstein's combination of stinks of garlic and whatever. And if I can get this off, I mean, how gross is that? even though that's been cleaned, but like I cleaned this out once and it was disgusting, but you'd fill that juice jug up with all the different scents, and we would just have this on the boat and just drop our jigs in there, and you'd throw out the jig and it looked like it was an oil spill in the lake. All the different smells, but man, does it work good. Now, I would not put this on my Skeeter today because it makes a mess. You drip this off, it's like, garlic stinking glue on the side of the boat after a while. So if I was going to use this on the boat, even my little boat nowadays, I would put like a piece of cardboard down and lay it on it, because it took me a long time to clean it off. Even my old boat, when I wasn't even worried about what it got on it, I was like, what is all this sticky, gross air? It was all just from this. But if you really want to go down the rabbit hole with jig fishing, the juice jug, and just take all the different types. I probably got 10 different brands of scent up there, and just dump them in and combine them together, and man, does that work good. That works good. That's the old juice jug for you guys to remember. Man, that thing reeked back on the boat back in the day. Imagine that out there in 90-degree weather, caking in the sun all day while you're fishing. But it does work. It does work. The pork really holds the scent in, really holds it in. So, you spray that every now and then and pitch that out, and fish will really brings back a lot of great memories, But that's it, guys. So if any of you guys have the old Super Pork laying around and haven't used them, give them a try. You may have some of the old Uncle Josh's, the different sizes laying around, even some of these old Strike King ones laying around. Give them a try again. Give them a try again. And for you guys who are new and have never heard of it until you've seen this video, check out the Uncle Josh on Land Big Fish. They are having that 20% off sale. You can save some money if you want to try it for the first time. I highly recommend it. If you have any issues with it, let me know. I can talk you through it. But it's really, really simple. The only key is putting that little piece of plastic on your hook so that the trailer will run the way it's supposed to. It won't bend up around your hook. And give it a shot. It's a great jig trailer. Excellent. It works. It's amazing how well it works, even today. So give it a try. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Any questions, let me know. I don't know of any other pork products out there. If you guys know, let me know. There may be some good ones I'm not aware of, but I've got so many things of Super Pork. I don't think I'm going to need anything for a while as far as pork goes. But that's it, guys. That's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. So please like this video. Please share it. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon on YouTube. Mark out.